I just want to hop right into this. Something that's big for me is long form conversation. I've been a lot of times I have a lot of ideas or things that come to my head, things I see that I want to speak longer form on. I don't know what this will be called, but this is just an opportunity for me to kind of lay those thoughts out in a recorded fashion. Today, we're going to talk about Pentagram's unveiling of their AI illustrations that they recently made. There's a couple of talking points I want to hit, but it's just something that when I saw it, I was just like, okay. Something that I want to also kick off with is this is a space that, like my podcast, I want to lead with questions. I don't want to necessarily close off what is the possibilities or what the reality of things are. So most of this, I want to lead in a fashion of like, let's ask more questions, let's look further into it. Let's have more of a discussion because I feel like in that discussion is where we can all find more and more understanding. So that's what we're doing here. I wanted to kick it off with this ad that I saw from Apple. It's been they've been putting out ads for their new Apple Intelligence, which is Apple's version of AI for their phones. I saw this commercial and I was like, I wonder what other people feel about it. So I'm gonna play a couple pieces of it.
Wow. Hey, Jay. This project might need a bit of zhuzhing, but you're the big enchilada. Holla back, Warren.
The most capable individual to undertake this task. Please let me know your thoughts. Best regards, Warren? Huh.
I am genius. Oh, genius.
I don't know. After watching that, I don't really get what the point is. I feel like they've always thought in the frame of the creative and like leading creatives to do more and make more. This commercial kind of comes off as the just regular guy who is just goofing off, um, making headway in a world that he probably shouldn't be in, probably rising above the people who are actually really trying. So I don't know. It just seems like it really feels like a world that I don't want to live in. I don't want to live in a world where like all these decisions are being made, these emails are being sent to you, these things are happening from um, kind of a perspective of not the person sending them. I think that's like super weird. There was a commercial during this, I think it was during the Olympics. It was a dad and a daughter, and the daughter was wanting to kind of write letters, but she was uncomfortable with like the style that she wrote in. Um, so they used AI to allow her to write letters to her family and loved ones, and they were happy and applauded that. But I think that is also weird. Like, why wouldn't you want to write a letter? How good, bad? I think that's like there is no real good and bad when you're trying to write from the heart and be heartfelt and be human. So again, it just feels weird. Like, are we trying to be ourselves and like really talk about the things that we've learned and what we're trying to accomplish, or are we just trying to um, get by and find easier, quicker ways to do it? Is it productivity over doing things in a thoughtful, creative manner? And I don't know. That's the question. I for me, I don't know. I feel like when I do things and I accomplish things, I feel proud. I feel happy. I want to contribute in a way where I'm doing the things that I'm putting in front of people. So I don't know. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about that. But that feels weird to me. The tone feels wrong coming from Apple. Also, that doesn't feel like an Apple commercial. It feels like they're, again, the wires are crossed. They're trying to again hop in on this. It feels AI race that everyone else is kind of doing. So I think it, I don't know. It just feels weird. Again, hitting on the productivity thing. Um, I again, I'm a designer. I'm a graphic designer. I'm a motion designer. I do a lot of things that are intensive and are hard and does take time, and it just doesn't make sense to want to so badly for productivity's sake give up the perspective that you have as a person and you have gained over your experiences, your learning, your time on this earth for a computer who is being trained by other people's thoughts and feelings to do that for you. I don't know. It just, again, why? Like, is, what does that get us? What, like, going forward? So I don't know. Those are, I just wanted to lead with that, ask some of those questions, but I think it's weird. So I want to hop into the Pentagram situation. They recently posted their case study about how they used AI to create 15,000 icons for a new government website called, what is it called? Uh, performance.gov. Um, and these icons are supposed to be used just, again, on this website, just as to support what's going on this website. Um, that's kind of the background. It was done by Paula Scher's team. It was in, I think they were just trying to test AI and its capabilities. They did it based on, they fed the AI the background information, so it wasn't being pulled from like a catalog or anything, as they say. They fed it everything that it knew. So I think that's a little different, but I think it still should be talked about. My biggest thing is from here, it just doesn't look good. Like, it doesn't look, I just don't understand what they're trying to get out of it, or like what like kind of what is the point of it all. It just, to do, and this is where I have a hard time with design sometimes, because my approach to design is a lot of times solution based. So that means that in the beginning we gotta, like, why are we doing this? Like, what's the, like, what are we trying to accomplish? So if the answer is just to blindly use AI in a project, then I guess that's the answer. But I just don't think, especially for the United States government, it's done very well. Paula Scher has come out and said, I think her comments were, how if you had to make 15,000 icons, of course you would use tools to make that process easier. I get that, but I think there's another piece to it to ask the question, then why 1,500 icons? Like, I've never seen an icon set that extensive. I just, as a person who's in the industry, it's one of those things where you kind of feel crazy. Like, did I miss something? Did I miss the boat? I feel like 1,500 is, especially if you're trying to tell a concise story or like have some consistency, 1,500 is kind of crazy. Like, maybe 100 at max, but 1,500 just seems, again, we're just doing it to do it. There's no real rhyme and reason. But if that is true, that there's no real rhyme or reason, that's fine. Just say that we just wanted to test and play with AI and see what it could give us for a project. Cool, but that's just kind of not how it was framed. I just always find this stuff interesting because it's like, well, if AI was an employee, or if you had to put your name on this work without the caveat of it was done by AI, would you still do it? Like, if my name had to go on this project without saying, hey, this is, because with a lot of tools, we don't lead with the tool that we like made it with. Like, there's no reason to say, oh, well, this project was done with Adobe Illustrator. it doesn't really matter what it was made with. The end product is the end product. So I just find it weird that like a lot of these AI projects, we lead with like, well, this was done in AI, and it's like, okay, like, well, and then the question, yeah, that leads to the question like, would you still be cool with it if you put it out there without saying it was done by AI? And I don't know. I don't know how they would feel about that or what they would say. Um, Currently, for me, my view on I think if we looked at AI as an employee, like everyone's trying to, it's really just being like forced on us kind of as like, this is a productivity tool. This will make your workflow faster. And as I've interacted with AI, it's not, it's tedious. Uh, you can't get the same result twice. It's try and retry. It reminds me a lot of like searching for stock imagery. If you've ever done that, it's just, you take what you get, and a lot of times you're like, I got an hour, so I'll go search and see what I can find. And in that hour, you take kind of what you found in that hour. You don't have any extra time to go look for it. So I feel like that's where we are with AI. It's not really moving the needle a whole bunch. A lot of the stuff that I've seen has not been good, and it all has this same look and feel. I compare it a lot to like autotune. Like autotune has that sound, and sometimes you want that sound, a lot of times you don't. And I feel like AI right now has a look, and sometimes you want that look, but a lot of times you don't want that look. So it's just, to me, it's just weird. Like it's just weird our adoption of it. And I another way to think about it for me is like, if AI was an employee, would we be happy with the work that it did? Like the work's not repeatable. It takes forever. Um, it feels like we are like, if you think of it as an employee, it then feels like we are capping for or caping for someone who is not at the level that we need them to be at. So then it's like, why are we doing it? Like, is this just an like we want to be cool? We want to like jump on the trend, and if that's what it is, then cool. But I feel like you got to say that. You can't just be like, okay, blind faith, you should follow me too into this thing that we're all doing. And it's like, I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me. I feel like you could have got 10 illustrators and had them all illustrate. You could have had them all illustrate 100 icons, and I feel like you would have gotten better work than this. But you couldn't say that it was done by AI. So if that was the objective, then hey, you did the objective. Something that I like to think about, again, in this conversation is, yes, you say you had to do 1,500, but we look at Google's doodle of the day, and a lot of times that has been, from my understanding, done by real people. So it's like, yeah, they've been doing that forever, and they've been doing it in a manner where it's like done by real people, where it can have real story and like be creative and be artsy and be whatever it needs to be. But I don't know. I feel like people could have done all of this. I understand that it's like capital wise, it might be cheaper to. I mean, yes, it's cheaper to do it that way. So if you want a bigger return, again, this is where we ask the questions, and if we don't have the full understanding of what you wanted, which we probably never will, then we can't come to a conclusion. But I think the conclusion we can come to is it's just all right. It's just okay. It's not anything that kind of moves the needle. I just think it's a sign of these big agencies jumping onto trends and trying to lead everyone else into this new creative world, I guess. But hey, that's really where I wanted to come from on that. I wanted to also lead with like some solutions or like what we can do about this as an industry. I think the biggest thing is no matter what they tell us, authenticity will be the key. Being human, being real, having a perspective, telling stories, all those things have stood the test of time, and they will continue to stand the test of time. So it just doesn't matter. They can put whatever in front of us. They put NFTs in front of us. That fell apart. They can put whatever they want in front of us. But being human, telling a story, having an opinion still carries like further than jumping on a lot of this stuff. Um, I think something to also remember is productivity is made up. I worked in a manufacturing site when I was an engineer, and they would move the needle constantly. They'd be like, okay, we're trying to get out this many, trying to get out 9 units by the end of the week. By the end of the week, that whole conversation would be erased, and they would be on to the next conversation at like 7 units for the next week. So a lot of times, yes, it did matter how fast we went, but sometimes it really didn't. Sometimes it really it did not matter how fast we went. It was going to be whatever the flavor of the day was when you showed up for work. So productivity is made up. It's someone deciding that this is what needs to happen when a lot of times it changes. So I think that's also a thing we need to take into account. Yes, when we're working for people, we want to be as proactive and set up timelines and really deliver on what they are looking for, but also do it in a fashion that doesn't kill you. Do it in a fashion where you feel like you also can continue to do this thing and won't burn out. I think as people who are working alongside possibly AI, I think the biggest thing is to. I was talking to someone at a conference, and I talked about like being a freelancer, and they were talking about how great, like what freelancers bring other than just the work. And they called it like you bring the gravity, and that gravity being the strategy, the leadership, the networking, the process making. Because as freelancers, a lot of times we're on our own. We might get thrown into an agency situation, have our own private clients. It's kind of all over the board, but a lot of times we are put in places of people thinking that we know what we're doing and we know how to lead. So if that's what's expected, then we need to sharpen those things to make sure that in this world of AI, even if someone's like, well, we want you to, I wouldn't take this project because I'm not working. AI is not something that I'm interested in right now. Like I said, I just don't think it's there. But if someone came to me and they're like, well, we have a project, and they're like, we're going to use AI, they can use AI all they want, but it's still a creative project that has milestones and has timelines and has to get done at a certain time. If they've never done that, they're still not going to be able to do that, even if they use AI. So currently in the creative industry, I think AI is a cop out. They just don't want to spend money, and they're using that as their reason for it, or their opportunity to try something different. Cool, try it. I don't think at where we are with AI, it's going to really push the needle. So I think we'll have a swing back in the other way of coming to freelancers, coming to agencies, coming to the people who know how to do this work. So that's really all I wanted to say. Again, I want to end with some questions. It's kind of like, I think the biggest question is like, what do y'all want? Like, what is the future that you want to live in that like actually supports you and actually doesn't leave you unhappy, burnt out, lonely? What is the future, and how do we get to that future that is actually like beneficial, that we all can be good and prosper in? Yeah, I think that's it. I want to do more of these. I feel like they're good for me, just getting this stuff out of my head. So if you've been to my channel before, currently there's a lot of, I've done some really good podcasts. So if you're interested in any of those, take a listen. I will be back with more of these, but until then, subscribe, like this video, comment if you got anything to say. And thank you for listening.